The next session will be taken by Subrat Mohanty, our Executive Director. We'll have the two key themes: customer obsession, the project Sparsh, and employee empowerment, the Siddhi. These are our Sparsh is one of our distinctiveness projects. Thank you.
Which is the customer obsession journey. And the second was what we are doing to empower our employees within the bank, which is what we call Siddhi. So what I'll do is I'll give you a very quick update on what we are doing on both. See, these are internal capability conversations. These are deep in terms of how deep we are taking it within the bank and what we are doing at a very fundamental level, both culturally as well as in terms of enabling our employees to be able to service our customers better. And in that sense, it's a bit long term in terms of its ambit. I don't know what's happened to the presentation. It will come, so I'm told. But let me, yeah, sure. So I'll start off with Sparsh. Now, this is something we started about 2 years back. There were two reasons to get this started. One, we wanted a deep cultural, impact within the bank in terms of having an anchor for every employee of ours in their behaviors, right? I mean, how do you behave every day at the bank? And we thought that using a customer obsession program will give us that kind of a scaffolding for getting the entire bank going. And we called them the STAR behavior, and the STAR is an acronym for how you should behave on an everyday basis, and that's gone very deep into the bank. So one was just a way to bring a certain set of rituals and practices and a way of behaving within the bank, which directs everyone, all of us, towards a particular objective, which was making sure that we service our customers well. And the second was, we did a scan of the market and we found that from a customer perspective, they see public sector banks as banks that are warm, that are closer. And the second, they find that private sector banks are very efficient, but you can't be too careful with them at times in terms of how, what they might offer to you, what kind of charges they might charge, and so on and so forth. And therefore, there was an opportunity to be efficient, like we were, but bring the warmth, bring the relationship, and the element of, customer first as part of our, going forward with the customers. And so we started this journey 2 years back. Two things were very important. One, we spent a lot of time in studying the best-in-class companies because we didn't want it to be just a program which pays lip service to customer service and then, we get on with life in terms of business parameters. So one thing that was important was at a leadership level, all of us appreciate that this actually translates to business metric. So if you take the first 3 months or so that we spent, we convinced ourselves by having conversations with many of these names that this actually makes a difference on the metric. And this is really the way we have identified the North Star for us, that eventually we will start seeing these benefits come through in terms of business metrics, which we are starting to see. The second was this will be a multi-year journey, and this will mean that you have to have very regular measurements at each milestone so that you know that you are tracking to that particular journey. And one of the important points was it's not about also just doing big, tentpole programs. You have to fix the hygiene issues, because if you don't fix the hygiene issues, you will get tripped up when you are trying to talk big about the big things that you're doing. So I'll quickly take you through, how we have gone about this journey. The aspiration is very simple. It's to be the most customer-obsessed bank. Internally, the target is to have an NPS score of 80, which is almost as big a moonshot as one can take, because that means that you should have 90 people promoting you for everything that you do and maybe only 10 detractors. And we are on that particular journey. We will give you metrics on how we are looking at on NPS at this point in time. 4 key pillars. The first is making sure that we have delight in every single business or every single journey that we have within the bank. So we've gone and into the top 30 journeys to start with, and then now across the bank to actually look at how do we embed delight. The second part is to make sure that it is deep and cultural within the banks about every single colleague understanding what Sparsh means. So we call them delight advocates. Third is to measure and to act. And the fourth one is to build institutional capabilities across. What this has meant, and a lot of this is really catching fire in the last 12 months or so, because we took some time to build the capabilities and start rolling out these programs. So first is in terms of the NPS scores across the board. The movement is across about 30 to 50%, and these numbers are going up as we speak. In lot of these cases, we are above 60, in some cases almost 70 as an NPS score. And there is also an outside-in perspective which is starting to validate this. The outside-in perspective will come with a bit of a lag because they do once a year NPS studies, while we do it on a continuous basis, almost on an everyday basis. Now, there are two parts to the NPS discussion that I want to highlight. One is, at a certain level, NPS is a lag indicator. Customers transact with us, we send them NPS surveys, and we get a score. And very importantly, like Amitabh mentioned, no individual colleague of ours can in any way influence the score. They would just go and make sure that they give the best to the customer. A separate team randomly picks which customers we will send NPS surveys to, and those survey results are sent back directly to the central team. Individually, you can't do much except to say that, sir, if you get an NPS survey questionnaire, please make sure that you respond to it. Beyond that, nothing. But as I was saying, it's a lag indicator that way, but it is a lead indicator for the business metrics. If you continue to have strong NPS as a lag indicator in terms of how you are interacting and transacting with your customers, as we have seen at the beginning, to the many customers, to the many other organizations that we spoke to, it becomes a lead indicator for how your business is doing in terms of cross-sell, upsell, deepening of relationship, right? So these numbers are trending very well ahead of our expectations. In multiple, so right now we have got this down in terms of NPS to about 30 different customer journeys, which almost cover most of the bank. On wholesale banking side, we don't have as much because the nature of the transactions are a bit different. But even in the small and medium business banking, we've got NPS on a everyday basis, and therefore no part of the bank is untouched where the transaction volumes are somewhat significant. The other thing that we spoke about was institutionalizing these behaviors. So two things. One is in terms of training, in terms of making sure there are rituals across the bank. Every morning at 9 a.m. in the bank, across all branches, there is something called Pulsate. For 30 minutes, all our colleagues talk about how they will plan for the day, what are the things that they have learned based on yesterday's transactions with the customers. If there are any bank-wide messaging that needs to be done, it will be spoken about, and they will talk about their, they will possibly recognize and reward customer service champions for that particular branch. So that's something that keeps happening on a daily basis at 9 a.m. Every single detractor, so someone who has given us a rating which is below 8, is reached out on a daily basis. And we ask the question as to why did you give us a lower rating, and then we try and close loop that particular issue with. And then there is also, metric in terms of making sure that the key moments of truth in every journey are tracked, and we are trying to make sure that the customers actually, find it easier to deal with us at the moment of truth. The other thing that we have done is how have we made sure that across the bank this is taken up seriously. There is a Sparsh board. This is a team that has all the senior leaders of the businesses where we have a focus in terms of the number of transactions that we do. And this board meets twice a quarter. They go after all the big pain areas. They speak about what are the bank level tent poles, big initiatives that we need to do. and they listen to the voice of customer in each one of those meetings. These meetings are about 3 hours long. They start off with complaint numbers, they start off with voice of customers, and this is the board that makes sure that this journey is honest. One of the things that we keep talking about internally is that this journey should entail some pain, by which what we mean is you have to forego some things if you have to truly do Sparsh, which means some charges, some things that you have grown up to believe that this is the only way to do it. You have to change those practices, and having these business leaders as part of Sparsh board makes it easier, because there is a very different level of commitment if we have to really question a particular charge or a particular thing that we say we should do because it might inconvenience customer, but eventually, like they say, धंधा है कि नहीं, मतलब धंधा करना है कि नहीं. But those kind of conversations, we try and reduce that dissonance because those people are part of the Sparsh board themselves. The other part is in terms of just embedding. So every year we have a Sparsh week. That's just a culmination of everything that we have done through the year. Apart from that, there are all kinds of, everyday activities to make sure that this is celebrated. And the core part of this is that you can at any time walk into a branch and ask any of our colleagues what is Sparsh. They will give you a response in terms of what they are doing as part of Sparsh. So in that sense, fairly deep within the organization. We've also done something called Access Promise. This is, one of the things that keeps coming back to us is that whenever we raise a request, we ask for a, for a particular, service to be met, we don't know where it is at any point in time. So one of the things we did as part of the Burgundy segment is that you will get a live view of where your request is at any time. So this is almost equivalent of, having a food delivery app, and you can see where exactly your order is. And this is live now for all the journeys which are available on the MB, on the mobile banking app for the Burgundy segment. So at any time you can see where your particular request is, where it is pending. If there is a document that is pending from you, you will get to know that, and you can close that out on the mobile banking app itself. And we have a 6-hour delivery tat for this. So any request of yours will be closed in 6 hours. If it doesn't, there is a particular, we either give you some reward points, or essentially there is a cost to not meeting the 6-hour delivery promise. And once we've gotten this going with Burgundy, we will extend it to the entire base of customer. And the idea is to continue to improve that 6-hour baseline as well in terms of the turnaround time. But again, very important part of what we are trying to do, and this is again live for the Burgundy segment. The other one, which is again an industry first, is this straight through process for reversing any charges. So we have two things. One is we don't have anything called a consolidated charge. All our charges are disaggregated, and customers can look at disaggregated level of charges, so that transparency is there. We appreciate that sometimes to do that at the beginning, you might get some increase in number of complaints, but that might just be a temporary phenomena. Eventually, people appreciate transparency. The second is, if you challenge a charge, you can challenge it online, and we've built the algo at the back. For many of those charges, the minute you challenge that particular charge, if it passes through our backend algo, the reversal happens then and there itself. Again, the equivalent of this is some of the, taxi riding apps that you see, where if you challenge a particular charge, they reverse it almost immediately. So this is again live. This is something that reduces a lot of, small ticket complaints and then, dissatisfaction that keeps coming through when customers have conversations with us. Lastly, this is something called Kaleidoscope. We have this app now which maps customer footprint. Any customer who has touched us online, offline, across journeys, and those journeys could be branch, ATM, the mobile app, the contact center, SMS, even NPS survey that they have responded to. Every single journey, the footprint of the customer now comes together in a single view called Kaleidoscope. and it is available to our colleagues who are actually servicing our customer. This is genuine 360-degree omni-channel view for every single transaction. So what that allows us is to have the institutional memory. The customer does not have to repeat the same story at 3 different touch points because the bank does not remember this particular customer and what happened to her. And more importantly, for us to do this, and we'll talk about some of our technology capabilities, but please understand, this is actually bringing together, possibly 25 to 30 different, applications, data sitting within that, and orchestrating a response and a next best action for our employees, which they can offer to the customers. So from a technology perspective, this is a very different level of sophistication that we have been able to build. So firstly, just the data engineering skills to bring data, then the ability to actually present it in a manner that is very easy for the front-end staff to be able to service the customer, and then offer what is the next best action that this particular customer needs when this particular customer is with you, either on a call or in person. So again, a very useful app that we have now for most of our front-end staff who are able to use this to service the customer. So that's on customer obsession. Siddhi, like Amitabh mentioned, this is a super app for our employees. Essentially, if you open Siddhi for our colleagues, they will get a view of the customer. So a whole lot of what you saw in Kaleidoscope is available for a front-end person, for them to be able to have the right talking points when they go meet a customer. Second, they get a full view of their own business. So their portfolio, they get a sense of, what kind of, performance, if they have to speak about that to the customer. They also get a sense of their team, how their team is doing, how they are, matching up with the targets that they have, what kind of incentives the team is getting, who among the team is underperforming, what kind of nudges or coaching they might need. And for everything that is related to office, so you don't have to come to branch ever. If you use this well, you can manage your appointment schedule, you can manage all the documents, the emails that you need to send, the messages that you need to send to the customer. You can do all your attendance, everything using this. Again, from a technology perspective, this is bringing in external data of the customer, in the sense the customer data. It's bringing our internal data of the teams from SAP, the training information, connecting to our knowledge management system. It's a fairly sophisticated thing which is available on the hands of our colleagues for them to actually get going on an everyday basis. And what we've been able to do, and you'll see a quick demo of this. Yep. I don't know why the sound is not working, but this is there a problem with the sound? We'll just try and see if we can get the sound, because that makes it easier for you to understand what's happening on the screen.
Integrating over 35 back-end systems that include end-to-end product journeys covering across business and service.
We'll just, yeah.
Welcome to Siddhi, an app that's built on a customer-first approach. Siddhi brings all the information we need at our fingertips to attain customer delight. By integrating over 35 back-end systems that include end-to-end product journeys covering across business and service functions of the bank to bring cohesive, intelligent insights based on analytical findings, actionable insights to address customer needs on the go and build strong customer relationships. It allows colleagues to view KRAs and means to achieve targets and earn incentives, and improve customer experience by having contextualized conversations with them, thanks to the comprehensive customer 360-degree view feature that gives colleagues all the necessary information at their fingertips. The teams can now prepare, pre-plan, and execute their Triumph operating rhythm on Siddhi and establish a deeper connection with their customers. Execute end-to-end product journeys on Siddhi in less than a minute. Create and manage leads in 3 clicks. Assist customers with tailor-made solutions on the go. Service customers instantly. View performance. Proactively engage with customers through smart personalized nudges based on customer and colleague behavior attributes with a feedback capture mechanism leading to client delight. And that's not all. Supervisors can now manage their teams effectively by monitoring their performance and guiding them to serve customers better. With new features being added regularly, Siddhi is continuously evolving to foster an omni-channel experience and help empower colleagues in delighting customers. Siddhi is now becoming a way of life and is gradually being scaled up across Axis Bank to both on-roll and off-roll colleagues and is currently live for 30,000 colleagues across premium RMs, branch banking and assets.
Right. So that's, in summary, what Siddhi is. I mean, like I said, fairly feature-rich and very, very strong modern technical architecture. I mean, if any of you is interested, this is a very different kind of cutting-edge architecture which is supporting this, which is not easy to replicate, and that's something that has been built by the team internally. And lastly, like I said, over the course of this year, we've taken it up to 31,000 employees. And by next year, we should be at about 60,000 employees. So almost right now, about 70+% of retail banking is covered by Siddhi. But by next year, we should be having this across the bank for every single employee. And for, in some sense, every single customer will get touched by Siddhi because our employees who will be dealing with the customers will have this super app that will support them. So that essentially is what I had. It's in 20 minutes, about 2 years of effort that have gone into these two programs. Like I said earlier, a lot of you would be interested in what does this mean and how does this really change business metrics. We are deeply aware of this. These are somewhat long-term in nature in terms of their impact. Like I said, some of them do have a bit of a lag indicator in terms of how we are doing, but they do feed into the lead indicators for business. We are monitoring that very closely. And wherever we have seen the NPS scores go up, for instance, we see the business metrics start moving with a little bit of a lag because we start seeing that actually translate to customers talking about us positively to other customers, to other prospects. And in the same as with Siddhi, as the adoption goes up, we are seeing the productivity of our colleagues going up. And one of the things that came up in the morning was the attrition conversation. Some part of that attrition is our colleagues feeling at sea when they come in to the bank in the first 6 or 12 months with targets, etc. This is again a very important enabler. As we deepen its adoption, it will reduce that level of cognitive load when you join the bank and you have so many things come to your way. You need to know 10, 15 different systems. You need to know how the bank runs its processes. You need to get your targets done. A lot of that cognitive load goes down because you have a super app like this. So that's pretty much what we had. We are seeing impact in both in terms of uplifts, and we will continue to track this. Thank you. Happy to take questions. Yeah, if you can have mic here. First table.
Thank you. This is Sri Karthik from Investec. I'm not sure if this question is to whether you're the right person to ask this question, but what have you identified as the 2 or 3 main reasons for the high level of attrition?
2 or 3 main. It's a multi-headed hydra, if you were to be, and you don't know which is feeding into what and eventually leads to it. I think somewhere you just need to intervene and start working on it so that you break the cycle. I think there are 3, 4 key things. One is definitely there is higher attrition for younger vintage. which is really a revolving door of people coming in and going out. And therefore, the onboarding experience and the ability to make them productive and start hitting metrics and start hitting targets early is very important. And a lot of that is directly linked to how, easy is it for them to get into the flow of things. Because like I said, once you enter and someone who's not had too much of work experience, to be able to sort of manage the number of places you have to go, feed, put the leads, and I mean it can be quite overwhelming if you were to just put yourself in their shoes. And therefore, this and just the initial onboarding experience is very important. They getting successful initially is very, very important. Of course, there are other things that we spoke about, which is career prospects. Can you have a continuous process of the internally finding jobs, which we call Project Thrive, which is fairly critical. That's the second one. And the third one, I think from a culture perspective, the fact that there are these anchors of Sparsh that we are focused in terms of purpose on customer. Some of that is again important for them to feel that, they are part of a larger reason why the bank is doing well, rather than just being people with a target and a scorecard. That's all they have to do. So we are using some of those to break that. I mean, the reasons typically remain the same, that could not meet my target, feel the targets are too steep, don't get paid enough for this, so left, right? So we have to break the cycle somewhere. We are breaking it in this manner.
And within the 30,000 that are
Already live, yeah.
35,000 which are live on this platform, if you break it by vintage in terms of their own tenure within the organization, have you seen successes with respect to reduction in attrition rates?
Yes, so we have two metrics on which we are tracking this. One is the productivity number in terms of who are so uplift, and then based on the productivity number, the attrition numbers, right? So attrition right now, we still haven't seen the delta move. Definitely productivity delta has moved. So we are hoping, because a lot of this 30,000 has happened in the last 12 months in terms of adoption. Prior to that, we were at about 3,000 only for RMs. We have now scaled it up to 30,000. Since there is a productivity uplift, which I think will give the confidence to people that since we are doing well, we will continue to do well in this platform. And often in Salesforce productivity, once you start having people reach their targets, the attrition number starts moderating because they feel good about being on that platform. So I'm hoping that that number comes down. But it's early days in terms of seeing the attrition impact on this.
Just last, from a competitive perspective, have you seen others start to adopt such utilities?
We keep a very close eye on what is there for in terms of others. There is nothing like Siddhi at this scale. You might have individual apps. There are actually 5 or 6 different apps for employees, depending on which part of the business you are or what product you are selling. A unified single app which does customer, does internal processes, does team performance, does budgets, looks at your incentive numbers. It is quite ahead of what people have in the industry.
Thank you.
One at the back, yeah.
Hi, Param here from Nomura. So my question is, between yourself, the Sparsh program as well as Access 2.2, would it be fair to say that the big chunk of the investment phase here, in terms of OPEX, is largely over? That's, the first question.
So, see, one of the things that and when we have this conversation, the straight answer to your question is, in this case, yes, because we have made, these are not small ticket investments. What's gone on in the back is fairly significant, and the platform allows us to now use it in many different manners, right? So to the specific question, the answer is obviously yes. Are there 3 other big ticket ideas brewing at this point in time? Going back to Puneet's point that there is a certain amount of benign environment that presents an investment opportunity for us to continue to build things that will take us ahead of competition. The answer to that is yes. So to the specific question, yeah, I think we are pretty much at the back end of the investment cycle for some of these big ticket ideas. But at a macro level, there is no shortage of other big ticket ideas that are happening. In the afternoon, we'll speak about Neo, another big thing in the wholesale banking side. We have phase two of that. And on some of these, there is a phase two of Sparsh that we are starting to work on. So we'll see, and we'll calibrate based on how we feel at that point in time in terms of how the environment is. Right now, we still think there is opportunity for us to make investments. We will continue to work on it.
And on Axis 2.0, when you're saying it's going to
Open, sorry. Yeah.
so when it's going to grow 3 to 4x over the next by fiscal 27, so what does that mean from a headcount addition perspective, from an overall geographical expansion perspective? What does that mean for the overall bank?
So, I mean, we will have this continuous calibration, right? So, there is a 8 to 10% geographic expansion that we have done. We continue to do in terms of number of branches and increasing our footprint because, like Manish mentioned, there is a whole opportunity out there on Bharat which we don't want to miss. Simultaneously, we have this whole, open, which is pushing the case for this in terms of, getting a very different kind of customers in. So I'll say that what you've seen in the last 2-3 years is how this will continue. We'll see 8 to 10% increase in the number of branches. There might be some, competitive pressures which might sometimes, make us respond a bit differently. But on a 3 to 5 year basis, that's the kind of line of sight we have. And we will continue to make the investments for Open 2.0. The only thing that might change is the nature of the branches, the size, the digital enablement of it, so we have something called the Branch of the Future program, which we are rolling out across branches one after the other, which is a much different branch than what you see today in terms of number of people needed for getting the branch going. So that particular thing will happen, but physical footprint, I think we'll continue to make that investment the way we have been making in the last 3 years.